These past couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of discussion on Isaiah 14:1 and 2, stemming from Genesis and the PowerPoint video that they released, or the presentation. I think it's a PowerPoint, whatever it was, PDF, whatever the case might be. So they've been talking about this quite extensively, and I want to go into Isaiah 14:1 and 2 because while they have the framework that they and I discussed a year or so ago, and they're actually leveraging that very framework of there being two distinct types of Gentiles from that discussion. They are still getting this wrong, and so are others that I'm seeing discuss it, and I think they haven't really delved into the text to the necessary depth or the scholarship. And so, what we're talking about here is that there are, in fact, three different groups in this text, not two. In fact, if we go in Keil and Delitzsch's commentary on this text, not there, but here, we find that Keil and Delitzsch even note this as well. So when we look here, it says, proselytes from among the heathen who have acknowledged the God of the exiles go along with them, as Ruth did with Naomi. Heathen accompany the exiles to their own place. And now their relative positions are reversed. Those who accompany Israel are taken possession by the latter. And so it is not that the proselytes are the heathen who accompany them, but proselytes from among the heathen go along with them. Heathen accompany the exiles to their own place. So there are three groups. There are Israelites, there are the proselytes, and there are the heathen. And so all three groups return with Israel to the land of Israel. But let's just jump into the text itself, and we're going to see that here. So you've got the King James Version right here that you can see. Let's see if I can highlight it right there. I'm going to be reading from the New American Standard down here, however. It says, when the Lord will have compassion on Jacob and again choose Israel and settle them in their own land, then strangers will join and attach themselves to the house of Jacob. So you've got these strangers. Now, these strangers are the Hebrew ger. Ger is an important word that we're going to focus on here. So you see right there, hager, right there. That's that class of strangers. Now, the English word strangers in the King James Version especially is translated from multiple Hebrew words, and each have a different nuance. So you have nakar, you have zer, you have toshab, and you have ger. So we're going to really focus on the ger and how the ger were to be treated. So we go into Leviticus chapter 19, and we're going to find this borne out. So here in Leviticus 19, and we're going to start in verse 33. It says, when a stranger resides with you in your land, you shall do him no wrong. Let's notice the King James Version here as we're looking at it. You shall not vex him. That's the sense here. So let's look into the Hebrew for vex just a little bit. Oppress, maltreat. This is Brown, Driver, and Briggs lexicon. Let's go to the Hebrew Aramaic lexicon of the Old Testament. And it says to oppress. You're not to oppress that one. You're not to put them into servitude. That's the point. And so we'll continue reading here in Leviticus 19. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as a native among you. So they're to be to you just like as if they were an Israelite. You shall love him as yourself. So the same way you love a fellow Israelite, you are to love him. Now they're going to say, oh, these are Israelite strangers. Well, no, they're not. How do we know? For you were aliens in the land of Egypt. When Israel was in the land of Egypt, they were not Egyptians who were born outside of Egypt who had returned to their homeland. They were not people of another tribe of Egypt, so they were not the same ethnicity and living among them as if the strangers here being talked about are like somebody of Manasseh dwelling within Judah. No, those would not be strangers in this sense, in the way the term is being used here. It is used for people of another nation who come and migrate and move and take up permanent residence in the other nation and become part of that people. So that is the sense here. That is what Israel was. Israel was another nation, another ethnicity, another bloodline that moved into the land of Egypt and took up and became permanent residents in the foreign land. So when it says the stranger here, because Israel was that thing in Egypt, it's talking about the same thing in Israel. People of another ethnicity, another bloodline, another nationality who pick up and move into the land of Israel. You are to not vex them. You are to not oppress them. You are to not wrong them. You are to treat them as a native, and you are to love them as yourself. So recognizing that, then when we go back into Isaiah 14, that's what Israel is to do to these ones. They are to treat them as natives themselves. And that's key. They will settle with Israel in their land. They will attach themselves to the house of Jacob. And so now we get to verse 2. The peoples will take them along and bring them to their place. Now, a lot of people think the peoples is Israel. It's not. Some people think the peoples is the strangers. It's not. The peoples will take them along and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel will possess them as an inheritance in the land of the Lord as male and female servants. They will take their captors captive and will rule over their oppressors. So, who does this refer to? Isaiah 49 tells us. It's definitely not the strangers who join them. Kings will be your guardians, and their princesses your nurses. They will bow down to you with their faces. This is 23. We should go back to verse 22 first. Sorry. Thus says the Lord God, behold, I will lift up my hand to the nations and set up a standard to the peoples. And they, that is the nations, will bring your sons in their bosom. So who's bringing who? The peoples are bringing the Israelites to their place. They will bring your sons in their bosoms, and your daughters will be carried on their shoulders. These are the ones being talked about in 14:2. Kings will be your guardians, and their princesses your nurses. They will bow down to you with their faces to the earth and lick the dust of your feet, and you will know that I am the Lord. Those who hopefully wait for me will not be put to shame. This is the peoples who bring them to their place. So you have two groups, the strangers and the peoples. These are from other bloodlines. And then you have the third group, Israel. Now, when we go into the Septuagint of verse 1, we know this is dealing with converts as well, because this is very much the same language that we find for Achior the Ammonite, who we just discussed recently was a foreign convert. I've been talking about this guy for quite a while, but we did do a video on this just the other day. So we've got this word here, prostothemi, and when we're just going to search on it, and we're going to see this is the exact same terminology of joining the house of Jacob here that is used for Achior joining the house of Israel. Let's see, I think I might have passed it there. So yeah, so here's Judith 14:10. We don't have it in this translation, so let's just flip over. And so right here we have Prasetithe, Estan, Oikon, Israel. So he joined to the house of Israel. Well, in Isaiah 14, they are joining the house of Jacob. Same thing. House of Jacob, house of Israel is the exact same thing. And so that's what they're doing. Now, there is a slightly different preposition here, but the usage, in fact, we know of pros and ace is very, very similar. In fact, when we look in the Greek, and oh no, we're not looking in the right text here. Let's try. It should be searching the right version. That's odd. Let's see. Okay, that's what we want. So let's try this again. Prostothemi, pros. Must have let's try that again. Prostithemi. There we go. Pros. Okay. So we're looking for prostithemi pros, which is what we see in Isaiah 14:2, and we see it appears multiple times. And so he was Abraham when he died, he was gathered to his people. He came together with his ancestors in death. And this is a use that we see throughout. Let's see Numbers 18:4. So let's see in the Septuagint, it says, and they shall be witnesses to thee and shall keep charge of the tabernacle. So I think the numbering here might be a little bit different. Yeah, they shall be joined to thee. So in the broader context, let's just go over to the English. And it says, bring with you also your brothers, the tribe of Levi, and they shall be joined with you. So it's them, they're going to become one in doing this thing. That's the point of the text. And so that's what we see as we look with prostithemi pros in these various inflections throughout the Greek, is that's the usage. They're becoming one. They're becoming part of the group. And so that's what's happening here with the Levites and the others. And that's what we find happening with Achior the Ammonite, and that is also what we have happening in Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1, with the strangers, the Ger. And so it is not the case that this text only deals with two distinct groups. They are three groups, and each group is different. Israel, the strangers who join them, attach themselves to the house of Jacob, and the peoples who bring them to their place, who are ruled over.